had so much rain now. Nothing, water doesn't have any place to go, and the ground is so soft, and if it gets windy, you lose a lot of trees.
I think we are going to lose a lot of trees.
As long as we don't lose them on top of my house.
Yeah. My wife said something to me this morning. I get up early and she doesn't. So I walked in the bedroom to get dressed, and she was watching her, looking at her phone. What are you doing? I'm reading about the storm. You're not taking this seriously enough. Okay, well let's see. Here's the plan. I'm going to pull all the stuff in the house. We're going to lock the cat, the one animal that we have. We'll stick him in the house, and we'll make sure the boys are around. I'll get gas for the chainsaw. Clean out the coolers. You know, I'm not sure.
What else we can do?
I don't know. I don't have a generator anymore. I used to own a generator.
We might finally get some use out of it.
I can remember that one storm where Still Meadow through the Dave Valley, Dave and Simone, they went out for
That's what prompted us.
like a week, right?
Yeah, that's what prompted us to buy the generator. We said, okay, enough of this. We had 2 dogs, and we were down. So that was in the,
What, 10 years ago? Or?
yeah, that's way about 10. We said, okay, no more of this. It's crazy. So we went,
Yeah, I had one. I took it to the job site. It got stolen, and I thought, well, I'm not really building. I don't really want to build. So
yeah, you buy the thing and you pay whatever, 6, 7 grand, whatever it was.
oh, this is the permanent backup,
Oh, yeah.
wired in, and
Yeah.
the whole thing.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
gotcha. Not just the electric, but, you know.
No, don't do a thing. The lights go out, you give it about 3 seconds, and then it pops on.
Right.
And I think everything in our house works except oddly the dryer, and I think it's the microwave or something.
The
There's
current's not.
two things that you're like, whatever, you know, yeah.
It's the current.
I'm not planning on doing a lot of laundry anyway in the middle of all this out the chair. Good morning.
Easy stuff.
Yeah.
So what's everybody think the storm's gonna bring us?
That's what we're talking about.
Wind and rain.
Wind and rain, and it looks like a lot of rain too.
Kids are going to be home.
If we get 20 inches of rain on top of what we've already had, that's
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I said, there's no place for the water to be.
No.
No.
And they get up to our house, and we live above the floodplain. Never gotten close.
Well, I will say, I don't think we have a distant relationship to the Rivanna, but it is way down there.
Yeah, that would really have to come up against you guys.
Yeah, I mean, it would have to, if it comes up, that's almost a biblical.
Time to get in the car and leave.
I think that's a,
Yeah, I agree.
but certainly you'll see these guys who bought Glenmore, I'm not feeling sorry for them by any means, but they buy it. You do your due diligence. The due diligence went on for, it seemed like a year. They finally closed. And immediately we get that big storm, and it floods the Rivanna, comes over the banks into the floodplain. It wipes out a bunch of their holes, takes out the sand trap. It probably did, I don't know, $20,000-$30,000 worth of damage in that one event, just because,
Thanks, cousin, like I say, like.
they were right there on that golf course. And so this one, they just finished repairing it all. Now they'll probably get hit again, and all that stuff will get floated out.
When I was a kid riding out there when the camps owned it, it was, they just couldn't use that land out there because it was flooded all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, well. I tell my sons, it's the every other 100-year storm.
It's a good time to search for property though.
On the internet?
Yeah, you can see how property holds up.
Oh, yeah.
I have a friend of mine up north, he waits for storms, he buys a lot of property. I go looking around through every storm, snowstorms, rainstorms.
Good idea, really.
No.
To see what the levels are, or
Yeah, you can
people
see
get
it.
disgusted and come out of here. Probably both.
Tree lines that come down where the electric is, where the local rivers are, what the roads are like going to it.
Yeah, I'm sure there is some, I mean, there's probably some element of
I mean, you want to go in the sunshine.
distract,
right?
Yeah.
in terms of people, you know.
Yeah, just add it.
I mean, let's say you're in California, right, you got fire, when the
Yeah.
fire that comes around and you sit there and worry about it for 10 days, maybe it doesn't hurt you, but you're still thinking, yeah, I don't like living here.
Is there a part of California that's not on fire right now?
I don't know.
Yes, but they have mudslides or earthquakes.
Got it, then, we're in Napa the other night.
They got it too.
Yeah, they got it. Exactly. Yeah, big fire. So that'll start.
I mean, you would assume that would motivate people to.
Or did, I mean, I just left the keys and there people are, I said, I'm out of here. I mean, they rebuilt it and do it again and do it again and do it again.
I'm from Long Island, and there's a whole area, the South Shore, that's pretty much built on a sandbar, Fire Island. And they build $1, $2, and $3 million homes on it. And every time there's a hurricane, it wipes out at least 30 to 60% of these homes. And do you know they build them again? And then they spend a year arguing if they have insurance or if they don't have insurance, or if FEMA will help them if they won't. But while they're arguing, these people just build them again. So I'm like,
And how long your insurance company is gonna continue
No,
those?
most of them are not insured.
Yeah,
They're insured.
yeah.
Because money's no object, and they want to live there. and
Right.
They expect every 50-year average, they have to do this. And they don't build shacks. They're not like stilted beach houses. These are homes,
Right.
amazing homes.
But the federal government still insures them.
To a certain extent.
What it costs you.
Yeah, but it,
Nowadays, if you get flooded 2, 3 times.
They bulldoze and dredge some sand in there. They do.
I say, I hope
Build it a little bit.
I generally, you know, I'm probably more of a naturalist than a lot of people, but my attitude is we shouldn't build it. I mean, and money shouldn't matter, and the federal government has no business getting involved in facilitating or encouraging us to build where we should build. So I have a little or no sympathy for the fact that, you know, that stuff happens. And because the reality is they shouldn't be there.
Well, not only that, people.
Built in
short
Wilmington,
memories.
right?
People have really short memories. Like they'll build on stilts because they got flooded. And then nothing happens for years and a couple of years. And pretty soon that's becomes, and then it becomes another room to take.
Right.
You know, and once again, you know.
So some of you, how many of you were here yesterday for Blitz?
I was here.
Okay.
I don't know what I was here for.
Yes.
Yeah. You probably have the second pages, right? I don't know if we'll get to it, but I'm giving you this, this information that Michelle.
She typed while we wrote it.
Oh, is that what happened?
We did, because she was typing it all and had it.
Holy moly, so that wasn't something that she already had?
No, she typed that while we were doing, I mean, I have the same thing, but mine's written, handwritten, hers is.
Well, when you see Michelle, give her a hug and tell her thank you. I just thought it was right out of,
No,
off a website or something. So, well, Michelle, if you're watching, thank you so much. And if you listen to this later, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Yona's not here because she has a pretty small group that she meets with out of Richmond, I think. So she said she was not going to be here. And as I promised you, and obviously we had a hiatus last week with me not being here, I wanted to kind of, you know, do a couple ahas from my time in San Diego during the masterminds, just you know, sort of the high points. And if you remember, I think most of you were here the day I talked about what is your purpose, and I gave you sort of my handout for that. If you don't have it, let me know, and I'll send it to you. But this is sort of, you know, sort of a piggyback to that. The thing I talked about a couple of weeks ago was sort of a compilation of several talks that happened during that time and my thinking through it and what it looked like and that kind of thing. Whereas this morning, I just kind of want to hit on some things, and I want to get to this handout, which by the way is in Roadmap for Success. Just the whole aspect of hopefully, my hope today is to give you some motivation, but also I want to give you encouragement in regards to adding to your database. Because when we go through this, after I go through these other things, you'll see that the math, it just makes sense. If you can really add your database and have 200 people in that mailing list that you kind of can count on, and again, whether you're thinking through it from a Buffini standpoint or just your own, the priority people versus the peripheral people. Buffini talks about A+ people, A people down to D meaning if something doesn't happen, you're going to delete them, right? They're going to go out of that. There's no reason to continue to give, to do that, to waste time with people who are never going to do anything with you. And we'll talk more about that. I always call it F7 people. And the reason I call it F7 people is on my first Mac, which had a 256K, floppy disk that ran the whole system, right? F7 was delete. And if I just, had enough of somebody, then I knew all I had to do was just this good feeling of just F7 and knowing that, I didn't have to think about it anymore, kind of thing. Some people, say, well, what did the F stand for? And no, it's just F7 on the Mac. But anyway, so a couple weeks ago, and if you missed it or if somebody's listening today and missed it, just go back into the YouTube channel that you have and watch it, because it was a compilation of a number of different talks, including Brian's brother Kevin, including this guy Walter Bond. We talked a couple weeks ago about the suckerfish versus the parasite, that kind of thing. That was from the Walter Bond talk. But what I wanted to kind of just hit on today is had an opportunity also to hear from this guy Mark Victor Hansen, who is the chicken soup guy. The book's Chicken Soup. I had no idea how many there are. I mean, I'd heard about chicken soup, and I'd seen Dottie read a couple of them or whatever. They put up on the big screen in San Diego all these books, the copies of the
dummies book.
Oh my gosh, these two guys! Yeah, these two guys. I mean, just knocked it out of the park in regards to just one, obviously being very, not productive is not even the right word. What would you call it? Prolific, or when you have a factory and it's just a production line. I mean, they just were just knocking them out of the park. But it was really interesting. He's an older gentleman now, but and obviously it's probably a talk he gives 100 times a year, probably. So he just walks on the stage and pulls the string and off he goes, and $25,000 later or whatever it is, he walks back off the stage again. But he's been a big. He and Brian Buffini have been friends for a lot of years, and but anyway, so he talked about having your spirits raised, and the thing I kind of wanted to start with is the theme of the masterminds this past year was Rise Up. And I thought about that, and I thought about it again this morning as I was thinking about or last night.
Michael, what is the mastermind? Does that mean you've done all the classes and you're at a higher level?
What
you're a coach?
Matt, anybody can go to mastermind. But so just from a Brian Buffini, food chain order, if you will, peak producers, or probably Blitz is probably the baseline now, because you can take Blitz if you've got somebody like Yona and myself who can teach it. You can take Blitz and learn the basic concepts of Buffini, and then you whet your appetite in that. And the next thing is probably, depending on hierarchy. I'm going to say the next thing is probably the Success Tour, which is the 2-day deal that they do. And it'll be in Richmond in March. We just got an email yesterday. I think it's the 19th and 20th of March in Richmond. I absolutely encourage you to do that. It's a great 2 days to kind of just be away and kind of, get your act together and networking with realtors from all around the state. We usually have 20 or 25 of us there, and some of us spend the night. And so we do lunch the first day together, and then do like a happy hour thing. And then some people drive back and forth, and the people that spend the night, we
Drink.
Well, we drink, but then we bond in the mornings because we get there as early as possible to save enough seats for the people that are driving back and forth, which is kind of an interesting thing because you're only supposed to save X amount of seats. And so the first year I did that, I realized I didn't have anything to save the seats with. So, you know, in a lot of those conference centers, they have the little cups of water. Well, it looked like I put urine sample cups on every seat, right? And I'm trying to protect these 20 seats by myself initially, and then keep it on a come, and somebody else comes, whenever we finally ultimately get it. But the pressure I feel for about an hour, where I'm trying to do this and not make anybody mad. You know, I get far enough back that I'm not trying to be right up there.
It's a terrible job.
Right, but yeah, but it's just my job and I do it. But anyway, so Blitz, that 2 days, phenomenal. Peak producers, I would say peak producers and success tours are the next thing that you really kind of dive in and really get a feel of what this is and how it's going to impact my business, both from a standpoint of setting up my business as well as learning how to do my business with buyers and sellers. Then from there, they now have a new one, which now I think about it would probably be behind Success Tour people. It's called Game Changers, which is the one that some of us went to. It's a brand new thing. And again, all of these things are things that the Game Changers is much more sales skills, one day listings, working with buyers, whatever. But at the same time, they're trying to lead you toward their monthly package, their coaching. You know, they're doing the right thing, and they do it in a very non-threatening, non-pressure sort of way. They got good people there. You can talk to them and that kind of thing. So Blitz, Game Changers, Success Tour, Peak Producers, and then they have two more. And the other two are Masterminds, which is the one I went to. And Masterminds is different than the others because it really is about personal development. It's not as much about real estate. I mean, just as an example, here at the table of contents for 2 days. Rise up to your purpose, rise up to serve, rise up with creativity, rise up above the crowd, kind of how do I differentiate myself from other people, rise up from your circumstances, that's Walter Bond and his deal. What I'm going to talk about this morning, Mark Hansen, having your spirits raised, and then, goal setting, rise up to your dreams, it's a good life after all. So the point being is, I was surprised. I'd never been to Masterminds. Had nothing really to do with real estate. I mean, certainly they talked about things, but it was really about it, and I loved it. It was really a great 2 days for me. And extraordinary speakers. They spent a lot of money on getting really good people. And then the last one is called Peak something. It's not Peak Producers, it's Peak something. And that's like the pinnacle. And it's a smaller number, more expensive kind of deal. And so they've got all these different
I'm
scenarios.
sorry to take you off.
No, that's good.
When you said mastermind, I've never really asked.
No, it's great. It's great. And I would encourage everyone. Now, it is amazing to me to see people who I know are very successful in business, and they're there every year. Especially at the Success Tour, the 2 day, because the 2 day is pretty similar every year. Different speakers and stuff, but pretty similar. But these folks tell me that they go every year, one, because they always learn something new. Two, they always go home energetic. And three, they've networked themselves amongst these several hundred people to hopefully get
fun.
That is fun. It's fun. So anyway, so the whole point of this whole rise up. When you think about just for the next couple of days, just think about these two words, rise up. And it's really interesting how it takes you to different places, right? And this morning, or last night, when I was, knowing what I was going to talk about today, rise up just meant, I just got to get out of my chair. I just got to go do something, right? And whether it's a personal thing, I'm sitting in my recliner, I got to rise up and go take a walk around the block. I don't think so. I'm not watch golf. I'm going to, Redskins are playing pretty well today. I guess I'll just sit here and watch that. I got to rise up and put a table in front of me and do some work while I'm doing something like that. The first point I want to make today is it's about that first step. As you're working on your business, rising up and doing something, rising up and holding an open house on a Sunday, rising up and doing whatever. Now, obviously, Rise Up had a much bigger, connotation as far as mastermind, but I think it just starts with that. I really do. I think it just is this whole thought process. It's kind of like Mel Robbins, who actually spoke at the Success Tour last year, and her 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 deal where, you know, it's just in the moment. You know, count back 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and make that phone call. You know, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And Bob and I talked about something yesterday where somebody had listed a piece of property. Good friend. And I just was kind of curious as to why he didn't even think about. And Bob was able to give me some information I didn't know, which made perfect sense. But I 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I shot this guy an email just saying, hey, I saw that you put this house in, put this property in the market. I'm a little bit surprised that you did, but I'm just curious as to why you didn't consider whether it just helped me to know professionally. That's the way I communicated. And I got a really nice email back from him and said, this guy was the guy all along. He's been, and Bob had told me this, I've been working with this guy for several years in regards to stuff. He's been very helpful, you know, blah, blah, blah. But it would be just as easy for me just to say, oh, I'm not gonna, you know, reach out to him, you know. And we all have those 5, 4, 3, 2, 1s. And Mel Robbins, if you Google Mel Robbins and watch any of her stuff, her story is phenomenal in the fact that she was in this miserable place of depression and discouragement and paralyzed by it. And somehow, some way, her mind just said, I just gotta get out of bed this morning. I just gotta rise up. You know, I just gotta get out of bed this morning. And so she did. And she got out of bed and she made breakfast for her kids. And the next morning, it was just a little bit easier to get out of bed. Right? And the next thing you know, she's this very, very well, you know, sought after motivational speaker, CNN, about, you know, what do you call that? You know, somebody comes
Talking head?
No, not talking head, but somebody comes on a regular basis when they, you know, for that type of thing, consultant or, you know, journalistic, whatever. And she's done very well. She's very, you know, she's very interesting to listen to or whatever. But this whole aspect of is rising up. I'm just going to do it. I'm not going to let myself not do as well as I want to do. So anyway, that's just kind of the first thought of this whole rising up thing. Just, you know, real quickly, if you didn't know that that coffee was important back in the day, the Bible talks about coffee. I don't know if you noticed, this was this joke, by the way, at the beginning, so I'm not going to claim it, but, you know, the book of Hebrews, you know, that, you know, in the morning that the husband brews coffee for his wife. Anyway, this whole aspect of this mentality, I think I said this in my email yesterday in regards to this week, this whole mentality for success. That we have to have a mentality for success, and it's as easy as, again, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's as easy as rise up. I can think of agents that I know who literally get themselves almost like you know, the team before they run out on the field or onto the court or whatever. They get themselves in a frenzy, and they're all ready to go, and they go out there. You know, they want to be whatever. I know of agents that put themselves in that place for an open house. They spend Sunday morning getting themselves in a frame of mind of, I'm going to sell this house today. I'm going to do whatever it takes to build rapport and gain credibility and show these people here that if they're going to use an agent to buy a house, they're going to come to me. And they put themselves in this frame of mind that they're, you know, I'm not going to waste this opportunity. You know, if I'm going to spend this 3 hours at this house, or if I've done all the things that Michael has told me to do in preparation for an open house, I'm not going to waste this opportunity now and screw it all up. I'm going to be ready, right? Now, that doesn't mean you have to be ready in the way of being obnoxious, that you're just, you know, attacking people at the door. In fact, the opposite. How am I going to, in each situation, with how somebody comes in the house, how am I going to gain that, build that rapport? How am I going to get it? And some of you heard it, you know, if you've heard my open house training, for me, I used to envision that person walking in with a bag of money. So the listing is at $400,000, and I would literally think about the fact that they have $12,000 in their hand in a brown paper bag, and my job was to get it away from them. You know, my job was to do whatever I could that they ultimately said, "You're the person I want to have this money." And it really changed my sort of perspective, right? This whole aspect of I don't want to offend anybody. I don't want to come across as a used car salesman. I don't want to whatever. No, I want to engage with these people so that hopefully I can build a trust with them, that they're willing to hand me this money, right? And that's just me. I mean, each of you can do it your own way, but for me, that was a way of preparing myself. So this whole yes, I can, yes, I will. And then I love this one. Having a list, Brian talks a lot about goals and writing things down and 10-day goals and 10-month goals and 5-year goals, 10, 10, 5. And one of the things that this guy talked about was having a list of people that you want to meet. That you sit down and you start writing a list of people that you like to meet. And some of them, it might be celebrities, that someday you'd like to meet somebody that really, that you look up to or whatever. But in my mind, there's this list in Charlottesville of people that I want to meet that ultimately can make a difference in the way my business is done. Walter Bond would talk, when he talked, he said, in talking about people you want to meet, use your resources to gain access to the right people. Use your resources to gain access to the right people. And he meant that in 2 different ways. Financial and your people capital. So you write a list of people that you want to meet, and then you start thinking about, who do I know who might know that person? Who do I know that cares enough about me and wants my business to grow that would be willing to introduce me to that person? Walter Bond took it the next step, and he literally would move every 5 years into a new, he's from Florida, into a new golf community, golf resort, and move up each time, lucky for him. To the point now that he's in this country club. I don't know if it's Jupiter or what's one, Englewood, or the one where all the pro golfers are. Idlewood. It's he literally is living now next to the guy who's the CEO or CFO of Walmart, or with tons of money. He said, my wife was the one who made me think about this. We were on a tight budget, and she said, we need to move in, and we need to join a country club. And Walter was like, well, first of all, I'm black. And where we are, there's not many black people in this country. I'm not saying anything he didn't say. First of all, second of all, we can barely, she said, but we need to use our resources to meet the right people, so they join a country club. And out of that came opportunities, and out of that came opportunities, and out of that came moving to a new country club. And so anyway, this whole aspect of using your resources, and literally having a list. Who do I want to be? Who could really change? And it could be, it could be anybody. And it may not be that person ever does business with you, but because you meet them and you build rapport with them and you gain credibility with them and you show them care, they start feeding you people. Oh, such and such is in the area, blah, blah, blah. And I can tell you, I can share story after story of people that, thankfully, refer business to us through me because of the relationship I've built with them, and that they trust me and they know I'm going to take care of the people. And anyway, so this whole who do you want to meet? And then let me just, Carrie, I'm going to come back to this, but let me move over to this mailing list of 200, because when he said that to me, when I listened to him talk about that, who do you want to meet? It made me think about this list of 200 that I created, this outline. Because who I want to meet ultimately is to help me get to my list of 200. Who are the 200 people that I want to be sending something to on a regular basis? Now, this says a mailing list. It could be an email list. Better yet, that's even awesome. It could be a text list, depending on how people want to be communicated with. But who are your 200 people? Now, the reason I did 200 is because back in the day, cheapest way of mailing things was bulk, and it had to be 200 people to get the best rate. The best rate is when you have 200 people in the exact same zip code, or even better yet, the last 3 numbers of the zip code, right? Go ahead.
Well, I'm just kind of prompt. So you start out, I'm starting out, I got 1,100 contacts, 998 are in the business. As I go through here, oh, that's a realtor, that's a realtor, that's a builder, so that I keep So I'm gonna come up with, 200. It's realistic that this 200 is not static. You're pushing people off, adding people constantly,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. Yeah,
This is a
absolutely.
very dynamic process of,
And that's that F7 thing. What you're trying to do with your 200 is you're trying to move as many people up to top layer, AA plus layer.
as opposed to I want 400.
Right, right. Those are two different lists, in my opinion. You could be mailing to a geographic area of 600, but that's not gonna have the same impact that these are the people. So, just, let's work through this for a minute. You got 200 people. I believe those people should hear from you 4 times a year.
Okay.
Not mail, I'm talking about hearing from you. 3 times by phone, 1 time face-to-face, at a minimum. So, again, very
One
simple.
time face to face.
Yeah,
So 4 times a year, not including email or text.
no, there should be something, okay, start again. So at least something monthly, should be either mailed to them or emailed to them. You should have something, and that's why we have the newsletter, and Chris is working on the September one right now because I was out of town. But this electronic newsletter is a great thing to use. Hey, this is what my broker, is
That's
talking
once a
about.
month.
And we provide that to you once a month, right?
And is it personalized?
It can be personalized, yeah, it's just a link, so that you can then set up, hey, just want you to, you
You
can.
don't put your picture in the top corner.
No, I would, absolutely. I just create a template, Chris can help you with that.
Yeah.
Just create a template and just, have a, text around it. Hey, here's the monthly, this month as example is about why somebody should use you if they're thinking about buying a new home versus a resale. A lot of people don't think they need to use a realtor, and that's true. A lot of people think they get a better deal if they use a realtor. And there's some exceptions that is the case, but in most of them it's not. And Bob, can tell you this better than any of us. You got 10 houses at 400,000. You can bet that 6 of those he's a builder's expecting at least 6 of those for a realtor to bring him a buyer, and that commission is in the base price. You got that as part of your expense, whether you call it marketing expense or commission, I don't care what it is. You got $400,000 home, 10 of them, that's 4 million times 3% is 120,000. And 6 of those are gonna sell with a realtor. Well, that's, what is that, $36,000. So you divide that by 10, you got $3,600 in your base price. That's on marketing costs and commission. It's already in there, right?
I used to do some of the design.
Sure.
The business has changed. You're Ryan Homes, you've got, you got staff on site, you got in-house sales, and a lot of these guys do now. But in the old days, when it was really just, you had, a construction operation, a couple administrators, maybe had a VP of sales. Customer come in and goes, I'm not gonna negotiate, I wanna take that commission off, I don't have a realtor. I'd be like, okay, well, I'm charging you more. Because I really want that realtor to answer all your questions and solve all your problems.
Yeah. I always talk to the realtor versus how to deal with it, yeah.
Yeah, I'd rather deal with somebody, these are rational, dealing directly with the customer was kind of the worst nightmare for the small builder. Please, I'm gonna charge you 5%.
Well,
Extra.
and quite honestly, that you can see that happening just now with the fact that we just got this opportunity to take over Echelon Homes, Bo Dickerson. And Bo has had it set up completely different with Nest, and it just didn't go well. For whatever reason, I'm not saying one of it, but I have, again, built a relationship with Bo. It gained his, credibility. It showed him like, here, he reached out to me and said, hey, I'm going to make a change. So I met with him a couple of times, and I felt like what Keith and the other were doing as a team, as it related to that, and with Justine and everything, they were the best people. And that agreement is much more significant than it was going to start out to be. And already, we've got 4 of them ended, right? And yeah, it's awesome, but the point being is, exactly what you said, Bo just said, I don't want to deal with people, I need somebody that, and that wasn't happening with the other company.
What is it that Roy Wheeler then did? Would you form a team for it, or what did you offer the builder that they were?
Well, I just brought Keith and Yona in because they're sort of in that realm.
Keith understands that.
And he understands, he's been a builder, he understands the frustration of losing everything. He's been there, and doesn't want to be a builder anymore for that reason. But he understands that, and he understands the development side, so he can also help, though, finding other pieces of ground to do stuff. But anyway, the point of all that was that all started with the fact that I had this relationship with Bo from years ago. That we just continued to be friends, and he just reached out to me one day and said, you know, I'm gonna do something, can I talk to you about it to see if you guys are the right people to do it? So over a couple months of, again, building the rapport, gaining credibility, showing the care, he made that commitment, and so far, you know, I think it's gone well. But anyway, going back to the whole point of this is that you want to have people on this list that are going to do business with you. Either they're going to refer people to you or whatever. And so there's some just basic assumptions here that I think are very conservative. People are going to move once every 10 years. If you can't get one referral from somebody every 2 years, if you're doing, let me back up. So mailing every month or email, depending, right? And then contacting people 4 times a year, 3 times by phone, at least once face-to-face. So you take your 200 and you've got 30 days in a month. And you're going to take 4 days off in that month. Or let's make it 5 days off, just to make the numbers work. So now you got 25 days, 200 people a quarter, right? So when you got 75 days divided by 200, you're making 3 calls a day. Basically, 3 calls a workday. That's all it is. 3 contacts a workday. And that becomes something that's in your calendar. Sometimes, some place in your day, you're stopping and you're making your contacts. And you're writing your personal notes behind it after you talk to them. And what ends up happening is 3 a day. Now I get through X amount a quarter, and then I get through X amount a year. Depending, some people will do their face-to-face all in the same quarter. I think that's hard to do.
200 people in a quarter.
Right. So again, 200 people in a quarter, so that's 70 some, 65.
120 days.
70, well, yeah, but again, yeah, so, but my point being is, so some people like Mike Peters does his face-to-face all at once. He literally buys loads out of their little poinsettias. And he goes and he actually stops by every house and hands them his poinsettia. Other people do, pies or, whatever. And some people will do client appreciation parties where they get 40 of their people in the same room at the same time, all face-to-face, inviting them to get a pie for Thanksgiving or inviting them to whatever. We try once a year to sponsor one of the movies at Paramount. And then we tell everybody we're sponsoring this. So at least up on the stage, I say, it's sponsored by Realty. Well, it could be any of you. And you invite your friends. Hey, we're doing this. And come, buy a ticket, and there'll be free pop. And you pay whatever, chump change. We're handing people popcorn as they come in. You get a chance to pay, however you want to do it. But the point being is, if you're going to do it one at a time, I would want to think about what are my face-to-face going to be throughout the year? Because now I'm face-to-face 200 over 12 months, right, versus 3 months. That becomes much easier from a time standpoint. Your key people, face-to-face is going to be more than just handing them a poinsettia. You're going to invite them to lunch or a cup of coffee or whatever. And just say, hey, just want to catch up with you and see how things are going and that kind of. But again, the whole aspect, and going back to what you were saying, Bob, about the builders and realtors and things like that. At some point, there's a conversation we have with all these people, and in that situation, it's different, but it's the same. At some point, to be on this list, you should be having a conversation with them that says, hey, Mike, I've been sending you some information. I've been staying in touch with you. If you were to decide that you were to buy a house or sell this, or if you knew somebody that was, would I be the realtor that you would call? You're asking them that question directly. Because I want to know. Go back to the email, would I be the realtor that, well, obviously I wasn't the realtor that he would call because he went to somebody else. So the point is, I never asked that question to him. But if I had, then I would know. No, if you were ever to sell this piece of property as an example, would you consider allowing whether to do it. Well, you're great, Mike, I, think the best, you're a good friend with him. But I've got this long-standing relationship. No, I know, I don't have to worry about it. It makes perfect sense. Same thing this. They say, no, my brother's in the business or I've bought and sold several properties through Logan, then I know, right? So I'm taking them off my key list because I may still send them the newsletter just in case Logan ever screws up and does something wrong so that they want to do something else. But at least I then know, but if they says, no, yes, you are, okay, great. I want to continue to earn the right for that. So I'm going to be sending you some stuff. If I can ever do anything for you, please let me know. Or you might say, well, I don't know. Well, what I'd like to do is earn the right to be that renter. Would it be okay if I?
But you wouldn't have that conversation every year.
No, one time.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh no, one time. But what I'm talking about is think about somebody that you meet in an open house. They're not quite ready, and you don't have an exclusive right to represent or anything, but you've got their information, so you start sending them information.
So they go to your 200.
They go
I'm into the granular.
Right.
So you take them, add them to your 200, now they're gonna.
With their permission, and that's what I'm saying.
You're gonna try to get contact with them on a monthly basis, maybe you call them, maybe establish rapport if you.
So granular, initially they wouldn't be on it. They would just be a contact,
Okay.
right? Think about my real estate food chain, right? If you boil this business down to one word, it's contacts. You can know the contract back and forth. You can know how to list property. If you don't have anybody to do it with, it doesn't matter. So when somebody says to me, what's the one thing I need to be successful in this business? Leave out everything. I'd say you have to have contacts, or you got to know how you're going to get them. So you've got this real estate food chain where everybody you meet is a potential client, right? That's good and it's bad, right? Because sometimes we don't know how to turn it off, right? But just think about everybody I meet is a potential client. So I contact somebody, and when I contact them, and whether it's just a meeting them at a party or whatever, come to an open house, whatever, they're contact. They then go from being contact, the next bubble is they become a suspect, right? Maybe there's somebody that I can work with in the future. Maybe they're the kind of person that could provide me other referrals, whatever. And as I spend more time with them, they become customers, or they become, they come on a mailing list of 200. They may not be a client yet, but I've developed it enough that I've got something going on. From there, it becomes client. That they're signing an exclusive right to represent, they're signing the listing agreement, whatever, they become client, which ultimately means they become a buyer and seller, and ultimately that means dollars earned, right? So this whole food chain, the links, if you think of the chain, you may be really good at making contacts, but you may not be good at getting them to the point of becoming clients. So there's a weak link. We got to work in that area to do that. Or I got a lot of people who say they want to buy something, but they're not doing it. How do I get them, so that if you do this, you begin to see where I'm good, where I'm not, where I need work, that kind of thing. But going back to what you said, initially that person wouldn't be on the mailing list. Somebody I meet in an open house, they're on a contact list, and I'm staying in touch with them until they give me, I have an opportunity to have the conversation. To say, look, I know you're not ready to buy something yet. You say you're 6 months out. Would it be okay if I add you to my mailing list? If you do buy in 6 months, am I going to have an opportunity to work with you? And they say, well, yeah, I think so. Great. Well, I want to earn that right. So would you mind if I put you on my mailing list? You start getting things from me on a regular basis. Start hearing from me on a regular basis. And blah, blah, blah. That makes sense?
Yeah.
I think it's kind of important to get all that right, because everybody wants a survey, everybody wants a mailing list. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm starting to delete things before I even look at them. So you got to also create some kind of energy to make people want to open it up.
It's got to be something that they think they're going to get some good information from.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I've watched a couple, I've studied this, and I'm pondering how to approach it. Jake Gallagher is a good friend of mine and worked for me for a while, and then went to work for Long & Foster, and has been very good, very successful. I'm very happy for him. He sends out what is clearly a stock newsletter that he has that's personalized.
Templated.
I guess Long and Foster may provide, he may buy it. I don't have any idea really how Jake executed, but I get it. I'm on his 200 right now. That's the problem with this town. Everybody you know is in the business or was in the business. So the other guy, who I know last is this David Duncan over at Nest. And Jim Duncan, excuse me.
You're thinking David Duncan from the Oakland Athletics.
Yeah.
Catch it.
Jim Duncan, who, you know, I had some run-ins with as a builder. He can be a contentious guy, but he's been very successful. And frankly, that whole Nest model I look at it askance. I still can't quite believe how successful that is. But he writes a blog, and it is a thoughtful blog, and I receive it.
Real Central Virginia is what it is.
Yeah, and I will say he puts a lot of effort into his research, and it's very analytical. And I find, again, I think it's led to a lot of business. I mean, Jim seems to be, now I've gone online and my MLS, my newfound capability to see how many transactions.
No, he's very successful, and but the thing he's done with the blog is he's also become somebody that media reach out to.
Yeah,
So that gets him that free promotion type of scenario as an expert in the.
And I think there's a lot of real information. I think people find real estate to be interesting in their daily lives, and there's a lot of information you could write about. I mean, quite honestly, he doesn't have a grip on real estate information by any stretch.
I think what I was talking about too was the reality and the science says there's a certain attention span to certain things. Like Facebook, I see a Facebook thing that's like, starts paragraph. I just never did it, right? There's even a thing now on Facebook that there's no picture on it. You don't tell whether that's true or not. But emails are similar, like newsletters. I'm not just saying this. The Roy Wheeler newsletter is really superb. And it's not too long, and it is a bit eye-catching. And I think it's something you could pass on. But I'd always like to, I'm starting this at home, and what I'm trying to do is give people the option, if you want to stay on the newsletter, let me know. And like you said, there's people that have interest. And those people actually become very special, qualified, potential clients, right? Because now they have interest and they want to see the Roy Wheeler newsletter. And so maybe 200 becomes only 20 of them, but those 20.
That's a credibility piece that I think is critically important. I follow a wellness guy. He was in California, but this guy, he's brilliant. Mark's Daily Apple. He has written in his blog for every day for 11 years. And he is now an authority on effectively ancestral health or paleo or however you want to catch it. But he's become a national authority, and he really just started from a garage, started researching, writing. It was a passion. And now he has he's got foods he's selling, he's got a bunch of New York Times bestseller books, and it all started with I'm going to put myself out there and make myself an authority about this subject.
So here's the thing.
And so
He rose up. At one point, he started one day and he started writing a blog. And 11 years later, that blog has become books, because when you write that blog, you're literally writing almost a chapter, possibly. And then you take the time to bring it all together. And that's why you see a guy like Tim Keller, who's a very renowned, Christian writer, pastor in New York. He's been doing sermons for however many years. Well, he's got all these sermon notes. And so he can do, I go, gosh, he's written another book. Well, no, he has written another book, but it's because of 30 years of stuff. Example, I send a text out every morning, and some of you may see it on Facebook and Twitter. It started out with a text of just a few people, my family and a few people. I send a text out to probably 120 people every morning. But a few years ago, I decided I'm just going to put it on Facebook and Twitter as well, right? Well, the other day, some of you heard me say this, but the other day I thought, at some point, my phone blows up or whatever, and I don't have all those. So I printed it. It was 65 pages of paragraph text that someday is going to be a book for me. I'm going to write I shouldn't say this out loud, but I'm going to write a devotional, a motivational, daily devotional for business people. I'm gonna take all these little things, and I'm gonna take them, and then I'm gonna write around it. And every day, somebody will look at that and read it and get the thought, and then, whenever that happens, I don't know.
You
Right?
should say that.
What's that?
You should say
That's right, yeah.
Well, here's an example, not to interrupt you, Michael, but that's the reason I'm sitting here. If I was getting these tweets from Michael. And I'm not, my faith journeys, I don't want to put myself out there inaccurately, but I know several people in the real estate business who you would think are very much like Michael. And yet the only one I found authentic was Michael. And it gave him credibility. And I said, that's a guy who I feel like would take care of me in helping me learn what I don't understand about real estate. I feel like I know a lot, but I don't know, there's key elements, I don't know anything. And so really it was those types of, certainly my personal interactions with Michael, but by and large, I was getting those daily messages. I wasn't on the text list.
Right. You could be. All you do is
And
say,
here I am. You're thinking, how do I get people on? I'm thinking, how come I'm not on?
yeah. Just let me know and I'll add you. But here's the point in regards to this. It is, in some place in here, it talks about again, rise up. It's that first step. It's that first blog. It's that first tweet. It's not going to happen unless you start it, right? It's just not going to happen unless you start it. And yeah, you want to be way down here. My daughter just did a sprint triathlon in Williamsburg Sunday, and 750-meter swim, which just is totally intimidating to me. The biathlon I could do, biking and running, great. Swimming, not so much. But anyway, she decided she would do the sprint marathon. She didn't decide Thursday to do the sprint marathon. She decided months ago, and she started swimming, and she started biking, and she started running. She had already been running and stuff like that. But the point being is, at some point, she said, I'm doing a triathlon, and she started that day to start preparing for it. It's the same thing in our business. Our business has to start someplace. And if you get frustrated by the fact that, this person's doing this, it's just like anything else. You're going to get discouraged. You got to one step at a time. And it's one step at a time, going back to the mailing list, you're not going to get to 200 right away. Some of you may, but it's about static, dynamic, adding people on, subtracting people out. The point I just want, and you can look at this at your leisure, but what I want to make of this is that, with this assumptions, we're talking about $162,000 a year in commission. If you have this going, and that's only at a 60% commission rate, which if you're doing this much business, you're at 85% for most of it. So that number even goes higher, right? And so, the thought process of what's the purpose of my mailing, people that we just talked about, people who are doing business, people they know, like, and trust, Bob getting my tweets, feels like there's credibility there. And now he's with us, which is awesome. You want the mailing list to cause people to call you their realtor. People have an accountant, people have a dentist, people have a mechanic. Do they have a realtor? Most people, NAR statistics say, don't have one. If they haven't done business with somebody for a while, they might remember the company, they may remember the color of the company's sign, they can't remember the realtor's name. We gotta be the source of the source. When somebody says something about real estate, you have to call Mike Stone, he is my realtor, right? So the mailing list, the things that we're sending are to get people to that place where they just say, this is the person that they count on for that. Gotta be consistent. Let's go back to what you said, Michael. Got to be consistent, creative, and it's got to regularly ask for referrals. Not in an obnoxious way, but just, let people know. Sometimes it's, the Buffini method of saying, hey, just don't forget I'm never too busy for your referrals. Another time it's about, hey, we're in a situation right now where the market doesn't have enough listings. If you know somebody who's thinking about selling, I'd love the opportunity. It'd be a privilege for me to talk to them. Or it might be just using outgoing referrals. You may not know this, but we're part of a large nationwide network of brokers. If you know anybody in the country that's thinking about buying or selling, I can help them. Let me know, and I'll put them in touch with somebody in Sacramento. Let them know, I'll put them in touch with somebody in San Antonio or whatever. And, I do 5 or 6 of those a year just because I hear that somebody's moving someplace. I said, have you got a realtor yet? Is it happening right now? A friend of mine here in Charlottesville, his son's moving to Richmond from Mobile, Alabama. I said, oh, really? Richmond has got a realtor in Richmond yet? No. Oh, I got a great guy in Bridges. So I referred to rep Wes in Richmond. If he ever buys a house, I'll give a little, check for that. Thought I had the listing too, because the listing, they already had it listed. And he was tired, he was not happy with the realtor, so he gave me an opportunity to refer him on the listing side. Of course, as soon as we did that, the house, which is great for them. But the point being is, big ears, hearing things, and again, in your newsletter, at some point, putting that in there. Hey, did you know? Which is just giving me an idea that the next newsletter we do, I'll get Chris to feature being RE. In fact, if you're thinking about, so that you guys can send it out, make it look like.
Marketing system.
Yeah, well, where is that?
Down towards the bottom, couple of things.
Oh, a couple of, so that used to be a system that we had that ended up, it's a little bit dated, I need to take that out. We had a company over in Waynesboro that did postcards and things like that, and you could fill out a form, and it just didn't work out, so now we're doing it different. But just what I put there is check out, see Chris Sanders in regards to marketing system. But anyway, consistent creative, I call it polite pest or consistent creativity. I want to be somebody who is polite pest and or who is consistently creative with my communication people. Commitment and focused prospecting is more important than talent. And here's the thing, if you are doing these things, even if at some point they've had a realtor and that realtor has dropped the ball and is not staying in touch with them, you're going to ultimately win the day, because that relationship is going to get developed, and they're going to see you as somebody that they want to do business with. Position yourself to be their realtor versus promoting yourself. Don't solicit, build relationships. Develop a closed system of referrals so as not to have competition. And what that is that you're developing that they're not, you build such a relationship with these people that they would never think about calling. They would call you. They would never think about, oh, I need to talk to two other realtors before I list my house. I'm going to have to list my house with Bob House. I'm going to go talk to some people about who I should help buy out. It goes back to that whole thing that I talk about three different types of people, right? There's I don't care people. There's the passive people. This was related to real estate, by the way, although it could relate to other things too. I don't care, passive, active. I want to be the name somebody thinks when they go from passive to active. So the I don't care people are the people that are renting, they're never going to buy, they're in this house for their whole life. So they don't pay attention to real estate at all. Right? They bought their house, they don't have a mortgage, they're never thinking about moving again. It's kind of like, you buy a car and you think it's, you went someplace and you got a really neat color that you've never seen before. And then you buy the car and you're driving down the road and you see 8 of them, same color, right? Because now it's just in your mind that you bought this bamboo colored whatever, and the next thing you know, there's, 8 of them around you. Well, it's the same thing that, if you don't, I don't care is the I don't care. Now, there are people in the I don't care that you might want to nose, and that's what I call the nosy neighbors. They don't care about real estate, but man, they care about people who are getting married or getting divorced or having another baby, so they're, growing out of the house and whatever, and they're calling you and saying, Mike, I don't know if you know, but such and such is pregnant again, and they only got 3 bedrooms, and I'm going to guess that they're going to be close to thinking about, you might want to touch base with them. But the passive people, the people that drive down the road, say, look, honey, that house just came on the market. Look, honey, that, blah, blah, blah. Oh, maybe we are thinking about, I would put myself in a passive place. Like you would put yourself in a passive place, that if the right house came along, then, to downsize into first floor, master bedroom, blah, 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 then we're going to move.
First floor master, so if you want to buy them.
At a much lower cost as to what John says. He does this to me every time. Years ago, that would have been something, we still rue the day that we didn't buy the house across the street. Dottie still reminds me we should have
And had a better realtor.
Yeah, exactly. It was Tom and Amy White's house. And they decided to downsize very early. I really respected Tom. He just said, I'm getting out of business, I'm going to do some other things. I don't need this over my head. So they sold the house and moved over off of North Avenue into where he grew up. But anyway, Dottie reminds me all the time, we never have to move. If we bought that house, you know, because it's first one master bedroom, and a little too close to John's house, but at least there'd be one house in between us. But anyway, the point being is I would consider myself passive, that if the right house comes along, we're going to sell. What we want to do is have people that when Michael Guthrie sees the house on Oxford Road, I got to call the house. Because I want to go see that house, right? So when somebody goes from passive active, and where passive active works, and statistically it shows it, signs go up in a neighborhood, passive people see the signs go up in the neighborhood, and all of a sudden they see a contract on it, and they go, oh my gosh, those folks got their house sold, what is sold? Oh, sold for that much, it's time for us to move. So that's why the just listed cards are so important. When you get a listing, that you're sending something there because there's somebody within 20 or 30 houses of that is in a passive place. Now, if you create your mailing list properly, that postcard doesn't matter. And good example, drives me crazy. Marjorie Alley just got that listing, you know. No, in Still Meadows. She started a postcard in our neighborhood, and we've done some stuff. We live in the neighborhood. Simone used to live in the neighborhood, and yet they listed with Marjorie. It just drives me crazy because we're doing this, list with a neighbor, blah blah blah, and they came in lower than, I'm disappointed that. I'm guessing that neighbors, when they get that card, are going to be disappointed to see that she listed at 475 or so. But anyway, the point is, we didn't get it. Now maybe she sold in that house. Who knows?
She could be on. That could be one of her 200.
It could be. But again, the point of all this is there are passive people in every situation, and what we want to do is put ourselves, one, in a situation where we're going for new business, for people to reach out to us in that situation. But what we're really trying to do is protect ourselves in this closed system, where if somebody who's passive goes to active, they're not even thinking about anything else they got, and they're calling you because you're their realtor. That's what this thing is all about, okay? All right, so real quickly, just some quick things for you. And we talked about having lists and everything. Well, some of the things that Mark Hansen talked about is your mind can transcend everything. If you start thinking it, if you start, having a focus on it, that whatever reason your mind gets you doing things that you don't even think about. I can tell you stories about how that's happened. So this whole aspect of don't fight it, write it, visualizing it to realize it. That one hit for me from a golf standpoint because Jack Nicklaus was all about visualizing. He literally, before every shot, he visualized where that ball was going to go. And somehow the mental aspect of that, now, of course he had wonderful mechanics too, but the mental aspect of that caused that to happen. There's a book, there was a movie out called 7 Days of Utopia, golf, but the book was a different title, and I can't remember what it was. But in that book, same thing. It was see it, feel it, SFT. See it, feel it, trust it. That's what it was. So you see the shot, you feel it, and then you trust it. And so, same thing with this, that, you're visualizing where's my business going to be in a year? Do I have a process? Do I have a system in place to do that? So visualizing and realizing it. When you change your mind, you change your future. I love that. When you change your mind, you change your future. If you're going a certain way and you say, you know what, I'm going to do it a different way, you're changing. We heard it this morning. And I got there for the very end of it, but Bingham talking about 9/11. Mm-hmm. And his whole life changed that day. The other thing too is understand the power of you. Understand the power of you. The example that this guy used was Booker T. Washington. That Booker T. Washington committed himself to making a change as it related to education in the African American community. His ripple effect of rising up and starting to just do his little thing. And if you read the Booker T. Washington story of what he ultimately ended up doing for, that is, and this whole aspect of what one person can do. I didn't even know. I knew the education, but I didn't know he invented crop rotation. He came up with the idea of rotating different crops to get different minerals in the soil and things like that. Ben Carson, another great story. Guy came out of nowhere and was one of the most gifted neurosurgeons, and now They had HUD.
I think that the 9/11, frankly, is, that, when they were talking about it today, what struck me and what continues to strike me is how, and this is a negative, this would be the anti-Booker T.
Right.
Is how really a handful of people have changed the world.
Yeah.
They changed the world, right? They took away our freedom.
Oh, right.
They took away lives.
Yeah.
But really, they changed the way we live.
Yeah.
The entire world. And it was, who knows, 100 dudes.
Yeah. You're right. That's a great point.
And it really, it's a powerful point that it doesn't take an army.
Yeah.
It takes a few people, it takes one person.
Yeah.
To make a change.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's really good. Jealousy only happens when you aren't fulfilling your own destiny. You see that in this business all the time, that somebody's successful and all of a sudden they're going, where are they getting their business from? Are they getting, fed from somebody, blah, blah, blah. And it's because I'm not where I need to be. I see it in my own life personally. I see people on trips and, things like that. And I'm going, well, why them and not me? And it's because you get caught up in a place of not fulfilling your own destiny, right? Goal setting is goal getting. He says write 101 goals. Whatever. But he's talking about simple and big. 101 goals, simple and big. Push the edge of the envelope. Dream big. Live true to your principles. Love everyone. Be sweet. That was something that his mother always said to him. Honey, go out there, be strong, but be sweet. Be successful, but be sweet. Be an influencer of influencers. So where can I be in a situation where I can influence other people who are going to influence other people? And for me, and going back to, again, this whole aspect of fulfilling your destiny, God has given me this opportunity to work with several of the UVA coaches. And it brings me great joy that they want my advice on things. Because I'm outside their deal, but the real estate business is not at all that much different, You're building a team of people, that people can come, people can go, blah, blah, blah. And for whatever reason, they've given me this opportunity. Well, golly, Dave, if I can influence this person who is influencing this team or who's influencing these other coaches. And a great example just happened, not good for me, but this guy, I'm not going to remember his name now. Anyway, had an opportunity to meet with a guy a couple weeks ago who has his real estate license in Roanoke. He's with Zach Epperly. You'll see his name around. I think he's going to do very, very well. Zach Epperly, moving from Roanoke, has his license. Somehow, I don't know how he got a hold of me, but we met on a Sunday, talked about the business, talked about him coming with us. Pretty sure he was going to stay with RE/MAX because he may only be here a year. His wife's in the sports medicine program, master's program at UVA. He went to Virginia Tech, found out he's a wrestler. So I reached out to Steve Garland, and I said, Steve, I just had this, texted Steve and said, I just had this great conversation with this kid, Zach Epperly, from Virginia Tech. Do you know him? So he goes, oh my gosh. The guy's the dude. He's so awesome and whatever. And I said to Zach, you're here for a year. I know you went to Tech, but you could stay in shape by wrestling with the guys here, because he's only out of college for a year or so. Wrestling guys, there's this regional wrestling thing that they do here outside, whatever. Anyway, so Zach and his wife went to dinner with Steve and his wife the other night. And turns out the kid was a 2-time All-American at Tech, right? And so it killed me when he called me. He handled it really well. I called him and said, Michael, everything about you, everything about your company, but I think I may only be here a year. It doesn't make any sense if I'm going to go back to Roanoke, Bradford. It doesn't make any sense for me to change my brand, if you will, for you. It makes perfect sense. But the point being is, because I knew Steve, I was able to put these two together, and I believe that relationship over this next year will be productive in some way or another. Maybe not for me, but for them.
I bet he'll pay back.
Oh, it should. It's
He'll reference that. He'll move to Roanoke and he'll refer people.
That's right. That's exactly right. Mindset creates your money set. thou shalt live below your means. I love that. Thou shalt live below your means. Debt-free life, stress-free, set-free. Debt-free life, stress-free, set-free. That's great. Net worth comes from your own network. And then this whole aspect of giving back all you can. Thinking about your time, talent, and treasures, being called on to make a difference. And it goes back to the whole, at the very beginning of what he talked about. He talked about learning, earning, and then returning. Learning, earning, and then return. You know, what you get, return it back in ways that, you know, whether it's volunteering, whatever. So anyway, this whole mindset of success, I think is critically important. If we believe that, that we have the opportunity to do it, then we can. And then to this, I give you this, and I give you these that Michelle, again, amazing to me that she did that. To hopefully put these things in, what we're thinking about in your head, that you put them down on paper and begin to live them out, rising up out of your chair, doing one thing at a time to get to that next place. So.
I think the talk yesterday, I didn't get a chance to stay the whole time. You probably did.
Yeah.
You're always outperforming.
Speaking of outperforming, you guys got okay weather yesterday, right? It never really rained on you, did it?
Yeah, our least of our problems was the weather.
Yeah. He played in that jail.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you know,
With Pete and Peter.
I
Pete
told
Hartwig and Peter.
Pete Hart,
Oh.
you know, when I saw her this morning, I said, you know, I moved my daughter on Sunday. She and her new husband were moving into a new house. So that brings with it the requisite bad back and all that. And then I played golf for the first time I don't know in a year. So I said, God bless.
Yeah. Anyway, I interrupted you.
It was on YouTube. And for those people who want to, right, that's how they pulled it up.
Right.
And it was super. I mean, again, I find goal setting great, but daunting. I'm the guy who wants to get it right, wants to make sure the math is perfect. And so well, that's not typical to my life of being inactive, kind of in traction, right? I do find that in goals. That I have a hard time really committing to them, getting them down on paper, peeling it back into the sub goals, and then doing more. He referred to it as the paper bag, blow it up. And the minute you walk away, it just, the bag has a hole in it. It was great. I thought it was a very good talk.
And you know, I guess the thing, misery loves company, or you're in the same boat, whatever. You know, I've been doing this for years, 35 years, managing 32 years, whatever. And doesn't matter how many people I have in an office or in a company. When I ask for people to write down their goals and give them back to me so that I can have some idea of what to expect for the following year, 1 out of every 4 I get back.
Yeah.
So only 25% of people, and that's with me. It'd be much less than that if I didn't try to consistently and creatively tell you that I need it, or politely and persistently say that I need it. It's just, and so then what I have to do is I have to go back and do my own projections based on the last few years of that person, and you know, guessing, not knowing whether or not they're starting some new marketing campaign, or they're gonna go, you know, sail the Greek Isles for 6 months, or you know whatever. I have to, you know, sort of guess what to expect, and so. But I can tell you, for me personally, and some of you have heard me say this, I've written goals down in the past and never looked at them again, and then found a piece of paper or got one of these books because I'm teaching, and I'll go and I'll look and go, oh my gosh, I did do that. I did that. Just the fact that I wrote it down, thought about it for a little bit, and I wrote it down, somehow my mind gets on the right road, and some of those actually happen, even though I didn't really make any effort to make them happen. Or I did, but I didn't think about it. In fact, I was making the effort. So
Michelle said the same thing yesterday. She had a list and kind of filtered its way underneath the pile, and all of a sudden, you know, months later, she comes across and, oh, wow, I did okay.
yeah. The unfortunate thing for me is I'm still not 190. I keep on writing that down, way to 190. What's that? Yeah. Okay. Good. All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, I tell you, I think it's,
Oh, you're up early for it, aren't you?
I am an early guy.
Yeah.
But it's not all workout. I can tell you, I've kind of gotten on the kick of eating differently as being really the answer.
Me too, I'm gonna,
You don't look like you better have a
eat the ice cream.
Well,
And